Hey everyone, let's dive right into this explainer. Have you ever wondered about the hidden economic forces that actually dictate the prices we pay every single day? Well, today, we're going to explore the fascinating spectrum of market competition, peeling back the layers of how goods are actually bought and sold in our economy. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with what is a market, then look at classifying the market web. After that, we'll visit the perfect competition utopia, swing by monopolies, the solo sellers, and finally land back in the real world. All right, part one. What exactly is a market? Let's look beyond the grocery store. To kick things off, we kind of need to shatter the illusion that a market is just a physical place you go to. The French mathematician and economist Augustin Cournot actually nailed this. He said economists don't just mean a specific marketplace, but literally any region where buyers and sellers are in such close contact that the prices of the same goods quickly equalize. So think of it as a vast, invisible network, not just four walls and a roof. So if it's not a building, what is it? Well, a market only really exists if these five criteria are totally locked in. You absolutely need potential buyers and sellers, right? Plus, a product or service to exchange, a set price, and close contact, which could be face-to-face or even just across the internet. And lastly, general knowledge about the market itself. If you hit all five of those, boom, you've got yourself a market. Moving on to part two, classifying the market web, or how we organize this massive economic universe. When economists try to organize this massive, buzzing web of global transactions, they basically drop them into three main buckets: place, time, and competition. Now, place is pretty straightforward, local, national, or international. But the truly dynamic stuff happens when we look at the economic impact of time. Looking at that time classification, it's wild how the flexibility of supply radically shifts. In a very short period, like just days or weeks, supply is entirely fixed. Think about it. A farmer can't just magically grow more crops overnight because demand spiked, right? But as we stretch into a short period of less than a year, producers can adjust some things, like maybe hiring more labor. Then by the time we hit the long period of up to 5 years or even longer, pretty much everything is variable. Firms can build entirely new factories, adjust all their costs, and totally transform their output. So time literally changes how a market behaves. All right, part three, the perfect competition utopia. Basically, an economist's dreams. The prominent economist Joan Robinson defined a perfect competition as prevailing when the demand for the output of each producer is perfectly elastic. Okay, what does that actually mean in plain English? It's basically the unicorn of economics. We're talking about an imaginary, utopian world with an infinite number of buyers and sellers, all trading a completely identical product. Everyone knows everything, there's zero government intervention, and absolutely no transport costs. And because no single seller is big enough to throw their weight around, they're all purely what we call price takers. So you might be wondering, how does a price actually get decided in this utopia if literally nobody has the power to set it? Well, the economist Alfred Marshall used this brilliant analogy of a pair of scissors. Think of demand as one blade, right? The buyers naturally wanting to push prices down. And think of supply as the other blade, the sellers needing to push prices up so they can cover their costs. Just like you need both blades to cut a piece of cloth, it takes the combined forces of demand and supply interacting to finally reach an equilibrium price in the market. Now for part four, monopolies, the solo sellers, or the one-firm market. Let's leave that crowded utopia behind for a second and look at the lone wolves of economics. The word monopoly actually comes from the Greek mono, meaning single, and poly, meaning seller. It's exactly what it sounds like: a market with only one seller controlling the entire supply, and absolutely no close substitutes. In this scenario, the firm is the ultimate price maker. They have absolute control because they offer something nobody else can, and they're usually guarded by some pretty massive barriers to entry. But monopolies aren't just a one-size-fits-all concept. They actually show up in a few distinct ways. For instance, a legal monopoly happens because of things like patents or trademarks, where the law literally forbids anyone else from copying a brand. Think of animal products. Then there's a natural monopoly, which is kind of like winning the environmental lottery. For example, Punjab has the absolute perfect climate for growing a specific type of wheat. And lastly, there's a simple monopoly, where a solo firm charges the exact same uniform price to every single buyer, no matter who they are. Finally, part five, the real world. Welcome to oligopolies and monopolistic competition. Since we definitely don't live in a world of pure utopian perfection or total monopolies, most products we buy live right here in the messy middle. On one side, we have the oligopoly. Oligo means few. Think of mobile service providers or cement manufacturers. We're talking about a few giant firms dominating the space, protected by huge barriers to entry. Their behavior is super unpredictable. They might secretly cooperate, or they might wage fierce price wars. On the other side, we have monopolistic competition. This is your everyday reality. Tons of sellers fighting for your attention, but selling incredibly close substitutes, like different brands of everyday soap. They rely heavily on things like advertising to show you just how different they supposedly are. To really grasp how monopolistic competition works, we have to look back to 1933, when Professor E.H. Chamberlain completely shifted the paradigm. You see, traditionally, economists would group firms into an industry, assuming they all just produce the exact same identical product. But Chamberlain realized that wasn't realistic at all. Instead, he proposed looking at a group, which is a bunch of firms producing differentiated but still closely related products. So companies making different formulas of medicine or different styles of cars, they actually form this highly competitive group fighting hard for your specific preference. Just think about the everyday products in your pantry. Gemini oil, Colgate toothpaste, Red Label tea, Brew coffee. How on earth do these brands survive when there are literally dozens of other options sitting right next to them on the shelf? Well, they do it by differentiating themselves from those extremely close substitutes. They spend fortunes, incurring massive selling costs on flashy packaging and TV ads, just to convince you that their specific formula is the best. Basically, they're trying to build a tiny, loyal monopoly out of their unique brand identity, right in the middle of a crowded market. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a challenge. Look around the room you're in right now. Check out your smartphone, your coffee mug, maybe the pen on your desk. Can you categorize them? Were they born from the fierce, identical battles of perfect competition, the total control of a monopoly, the tense standoff of an oligopoly, or maybe the clever branding of monopolistic competition? These economic forces dictate the shape, the price, and the availability of literally everything you touch. The real question is, the next time you make a purchase, are you making a totally free choice, or are you just playing your part in their market structure?